Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye ulahudi sanmyao sanputoshe.
Namo sadango suchedoye olahudi samyao sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Hong Yi. Today is Saturday, August 16th here in Queensland. It's Sunday, August 16th here in Queensland, Saturday, August 15th back in California. Wherever you might be watching around the world, please adjust your calendar. We're here to look into the Flower Garland Sutra, which I'm going to do myself and hopefully bring you all along. And if we're in sync, we'll be able to take one step into the infinite Dharma realm, right? This is the Sutra of the Dharma realm, Fa Jie Zhi Jing, known as the king among kings of Buddhist sutras, they say. So we have to be a little more humble than that as we approach the sutra, but certainly everybody's conditions are different, and who knows, many of us may be inviting the light of the three jewels here, and in that radiance, we might just find our good roots coming ripe and waking up. Why not? Aim for the stars, right? So here is our text for today. We're going to come back to page 40 after we do our invocation. So here we go. In the Tibetan world, what they do is they always say, set your intention before you embark on a practice. And I admire that method. So what is your intention today as you begin to touch a 2,500-year-old wisdom text? So get all the ducks lined up. That's our melody. We're going to put our palms together and invoke spiritual presence. Here we go. Namo Tafan Guang Fu Huayan Jin Huayan Hai Hui O Pu Sa Namo Tafan Huayan O Pusa Namo Tafan Guang Fu Huayan Jin Huayan Hai O Pusa Namo Tafan Guang Fu Huayan Jin Huayan Hai O O Pusa instruments for those 12 strings. Goodness. Back to page 40, and we're going to be looking into, give you a little preview, we're going to be talking about today, the sutra introduces us to what are called shan tong, and also佛八相成道, the psychic powers, and also the 8 hallmarks by which the Buddha, all Buddhas, realize the Tao, realize the way. And I thought this is a chance, when it comes up in the text, it's a chance for us to go deep, to look into it, and to understand it at a whole new level. Okay? So we're going to begin with, we'll start at that first paragraph, 复过此数于无量百千亿, right there. Okay? We touched that last week, but I think there's a principle we want to bring forward too. Okay, now I'm going to put my palms together and read the Mandarin. It's on your screen there if you'd like to follow along, and then we'll move over and do the English as well. Okay, here we go. Ready? 复过此数于无量百千亿，哪有他世界微尘数国度？随诸众生心之所要，数甘露雨，灭出一切众惑尘焰。是故此地名为法云。He continues beyond that number, and in lands as many as the fine motes of dust, in limitlessly many hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of world systems, according with what delights the minds of all their sentient beings, he pours down the rain of sweet dew, dispelling the dust and flames of their multitudes of delusions. Thus, this stage is called the Dharma Cloud. Bodhisattvas, 10th stage, almost ready to become Buddhas. The Bodhisattva we've been finding out about the memory of capacity of a Bodhisattva at this point. And who is the Bodhisattva? This is just a faceless, generic Bodhisattva. It's kind of everyman Bodhisattva, and by extension, it could be potentially you, could be potentially me, at this stage of development, right? So it's our paradigm Bodhisattva, our exemplar, who's going through the steps, taking the training, developing his abilities or her abilities. And what's highlighted here in the 10th stage is memory, particularly memory for the Dharma. And the point we made last week was, this is so that the Bodhisattva can take what he learns and go back and use it. This is not philosophical exercise. It's not sophistry. It's not purely intellectual. There are components of intellectual. I mean, you have to use your mind, right? But the Bodhisattva is using wisdom now, which is an innate, inherent capacity. You've got it, I've got it. And it's different than mere intellect, but it isn't apart from intellect either. Both of those. It's a deepening, it's an octave of that function. So, okay, now the Bodhisattva uses her memory of Dharma to go out and teach. And notice in our passage, what does it say? It says, he continues beyond many, many worlds and world systems. And there's an Avatamsaka number here, limitlessly many hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of world system. And here's the key. According with what delights the minds of all the sentient beings in those worlds, he does something. What does he do? He pours down the rain of sweet dew, which dispels the dust and flames of their multitudes of delusions. That's why they call this stage the Dharma Cloud stage. Every one of the the 10 stages has a name. Number 1 is the stage of happiness, right? Number 2 is the stage that gets rid of defilement. 3 is the stage of blazing wisdom. Now 4 is blazing wisdom. 5 is brilliant light, right? 3 is brilliant light. 4 is blazing wisdom. So the point I want to make is all of this work has a single theme to it, which is helping people pass their pain, helping people cope with worries and troubles. Here, it's overt. He follows what people like, meaning he's totally in sympathy and sync with you and what pleases you. And then, according with that, he, the Bodhisattva, says, pours down the rain of sweet dew. So out of clouds come the rain. This is a Dharma cloud, so the sweet dew of Dharma rain. Sweet dew rain of Dharma. There we go. And that sweet dew, ganlu they call it, what does it do? It dispels dust and flames of delusion. Okay, rich imagery, isn't it? Okay, what does it do? 灭除一切众惑尘厌. There's the Chinese right there. Let me translate it word by word. 灭除 eradicates and gets rid of, pushes out, 一切, all the many 惑, delusions, seeing things wrong, seeing things the way they're not. Chen is dust clouds, like cough, cough, dust. Yen is flames. Does that ring a bell? I don't know. I recall there's a passage in the 10 stages, we already went by it 3 or 4 years ago, where it says that each of the paramitas, the perfections, which are bodhisattvas' practices, each of them has a profound function. And what does it say? There's one that says, 能灭一切诸烦恼热，名为实落波罗蜜. What is it? It says, able to wipe out, to extinguish all of the flames of affliction. This is what we call the Shila Paramita. What is it? Precepts. Precepts. And when I read that, I was like, what? How do you, because I understood precepts when I first started out as prohibitions. No. Don't. Stop. Can't. Right? Somebody's trying to limit me. Somebody's trying to hold me back. And being a red-blooded, democratic, bone marrow American boy, I didn't want to be stopped, right? I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and you can't stop me. So that's kind of the attitude of the outlaw, the post-World War II, alienation. So that was what was current in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up. And so anybody who told me, can't, right, give me a prohibition, I'm going to find a way to break it. So when I heard, like, the Shila Paramita, the perfection of morality in a human being, wipes away of the fire of affliction, is what it said. It's like, I don't get it, right? It was like, So why is that? It's because at that point, I hadn't ever tasted anything other than my own state of everyday affliction. How much, how little, right? Anger, fire, flames, right? Greed, slow burning, coals inside. Burning away what? Satisfaction, peace of mind, serenity, well-being. Because what you got is never what you want. How much you got is never enough, right? Burning, burning. So that didn't occur to me that there was anything other than that. And then, once I saw, it took me actually, I had to meet someone who didn't have any affliction. And that was Master Hong Hua. And he would say to us, he would say, you think I'm so special. He says, I'm not. I'm just like you. I'm no different than any one of you. The only thing that's different is 我没有烦恼. He said, I don't have any afflictions, no troubles. And it's like, oh yeah? Well, are you enlightened? You know, it's like, what's affliction? Who cares about that? I want more. I want enlightenment, you know. And he would shake his head and say, okay. And then, bit by bit, as what happens? Well, you age a little bit, your body starts to not work the way you know, the way it always did. Sometimes you don't sleep well, and other times, you know, aches and pains. You go, gee, I don't feel very good. Oh, you're afflicted, huh? No, I don't think so. Yes, that's called affliction, right? Troubles, call it blues. I got the blues. Oh, I guess so. Oh, well, you want to get rid of them? Can't, can you? 能灭一切诸烦恼热，名为释罗波罗蜜. Precepts. And it was like, oh yeah? That's the claim the sutra says, becoming a better human being gets rid of pain and misery? What's the connection? Okay, so I asked the right question. What's the connection between precepts and ridding affliction? Healing yourself, right? How do precepts heal me? I needed to challenge that. And so, test it out. Sure enough, it's that we are fully capable of harming ourselves. It's in each and every one of us to become miserable and evil, and we do it to ourselves. It's within each and every one of us to heal, to become completely whole and integrated and complete within ourselves, needing nothing external, and peaceful and content and serene, right? That's within our power too. What's the difference? Well, wise men and women from the past say, good if you can avoid this behavior. Like don't kill, don't steal, don't lust, don't be dishonest, be truthful, and seek wisdom instead of getting high. And try it out on your own, you yourself. Nobody's going to preach it, you just go try it. Much better to walk it and know the feeling than to, study it with your eyes and your mind where you never quite get the point. So, tried it, oh my goodness, bit by bit, guess what? When it's not that affliction didn't rise, but I would catch it. I could see it. I hadn't uprooted it, but I would catch it and go, no, I have a choice. I am able, empowered to choose between planting the seeds of affliction or composting the seeds of affliction and just being patient when that impulse arises. My goodness, what a difference, bit by bit. It's like, yeah, I don't feel so all much on fire all the time. And I didn't take a pill, I didn't go see a doctor, right? I didn't take a course. What did I do? I just observed the thoughts rising and chose wisely among them and didn't plant the ones that were going to lead to affliction. So thank you, precepts, right? So that was a big awareness for me. And that was when I saw that in the sutra. It said each one of the paramitas, each one of the perfections had a definition. Kind of, this is what we mean when we say the perfection of morality, which I translate as being the best possible person. In other words, look at your behavior. And what is it? It's able to eradicate the fire of afflictions. It's like, What does it say today? It says, pours down the rain of sweet dew, dispelling the dust and flames of the multitude of delusions. Here it says delusions burn and cloud you over with dust. Yeah. Make your eyes feel dusty, right? Make your ears feel dusty. Your nose, your tongue, your body, your mind, right? So sweet dew here, which would translate as Dharma, right? The Buddha's teaching pours down the rain of sweet dew so that the flames and the dust is washed away, the flames are doused. This is the Dharma cloud. What's the point? That's why the Bodhisattva is doing this. He wants to be able to help. He wants to be able to wake people up. And he sees people burning with delusion, just thinking things wrong. It's not the way it is. They're being deluded by advertising, right? They're being sold a bill of goods by promises of stuff that they'll never get. And so the Bodhisattva wants them to listen inside to what's being said, applying it, waking up, making better choices. So that's why he is doing what he's doing. One step from Buddhahood, almost there, right? Okay, that's why it's called the Dharma Cloud. You want to have another reason? Let's dig into the next one. Why is it called the Dharma Cloud? Oolong tea from Taiwan, Gaoshan cha, can wipe away the dust of afflictions too. 佛子此地菩萨于一世界，从斗衰天下乃至涅槃，随所应度众生心而现佛事。若二若三，乃至如上为整数国度，复过于此，乃至无量百千亿哪有他世界为整数国度，皆亦如是。是故此地名为法云。Disciples of the Buddha on this stage, in a single world system, according to the minds of sentient beings who should be saved, the Bodhisattva makes the deeds of a Buddha appear, starting with descending from the Tushita heaven up to and including nirvana. He may do so in 2 or 3 up to and including as many lands as there are fine motes of dust, as described before. He continues doing the same in lands as many as fine motes of dust, in limitlessly many hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of world systems. Therefore, this stage is called the Dharma Cloud. Okay, this one is interesting because it's going to surprise, I think, some people, depending on how you hear, depending on how I express it and how you can hear what I'm saying. What it says is the Bodhisattva on this stage of the Dharma Cloud, looks at the people who, or the beings, not just humans, the beings who can hear what he has to say, people who should be saved, meaning they're ready, the fruit of their cultivation is almost ripe. And what does the Bodhisattva do? He shows up like an actor putting on a play. Theatrically, you could say. It says he makes the deeds of a Buddha appear. What does it say? So it says, 而现佛事, meaning what? Behaves like a Buddha? Yeah. Behaves like a Buddha, does Buddha stuff, but it's only for the sake of people who can see the Buddha and go, oh, wow, I would like to do that too, right? And it lists them. It says starting with coming down from Tushita heaven all the way to nirvana. And then it says he might do it in this world, 1 world, 2 worlds, 3 worlds, up to many, 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 many worlds. Will go and become a Buddha there as a bodhisattva, putting on the show like an actor, continuing to do this in limitless many hundreds of thousands of world systems. So it's called the Dharma Cloud. All right, now what's funny about that is, like, you mean the Buddha is not the Buddha, but it's a bodhisattva being a Buddha? It's a Buddha show? The Buddha play is in town? Right, yes, that's the answer, it is. So it's like, so it's not a real Buddha, it's a Bodhi. You can ask him when you see them, say, are you really a bodhisattva on the 10th stage here because I'm able to be taught? And he'll say, what's the difference? Doesn't matter, does it? Right? It's not on me, it's on you. Are you able to be taught? Can I, will you follow what I'm sharing with you? So, okay, so yeah, that's so interesting. And when it says, I'm going to open the document called Ba Xiang Cheng Dao. Here's what it says. It says he does these special things from descending to the Tushita heaven all the way to overcoming nirvana, to realizing nirvana. What is that? There are specific actions that every Buddha, whenever they appear, take as a pattern. here's a Buddha's pattern that we can look at. And I think it's really interesting because these are certain moments, right? Vignettes out of the lifetime of a Buddha that every Buddha will go through, by which you can know, oh, indeed, this was a Buddha. What are they? I went to the dictionary, and I discovered that there are two versions. There's a Theravada version, a Mahayana version, and they are 85 to 87% the same. There's a Shastra. We'll look at the Mahayana first. The Da Chang Qi Xin Lun, Shastra on the awakening of faith in the Mahayana tradition, says the first one is Jiang Do Shuai, right? Descending from the Tushita heaven. So, what is this about? It says every Buddha, before they become a Buddha, will spend 4,000 岁. There'll be 4,000 years in the Tushita heaven's inner palace. There are two palaces. There's an outer and an inner courtyard of the Tushita heaven. Where's the Tushita heaven? The Tushita heaven is heaven number 4 out of 6 in the desire realm. So they say every world has one. So our Tushita heaven is the 4th heaven out of 6 going up. Still in the desire realm. Mara is still on top. The gods in the Brahma heaven are way above. But the inner court of the Tushita heaven is where Bodhisattvas wait till the time is right and they become a Buddha. Okay? So, time is right, down they come. They come on board a what? A white-colored elephant. We heard about white-colored elephant with Samantabhadra last week. Airavana is the name of Samantabhadra's elephant. And he's got 6 tusks, and he's really, really splendid when you look at him. And he, riding on an elephant that way, apparently is quite pleasant. The sutras describe it, and how the elephant travels, and that's, if anybody wants a master's thesis topic, write on Airavana, because he's got a backstory. Why is this sentient elephant so special? Well, he wasn't always special. It's a story about him, and he's special now. He's a wonderful elephant, and he also helps out Chakra, Lord Chakra, whenever he needs a ride. There's an elephant, celestial elephant taxi, picking up kind of an Uber elephant, picking up the Devas and the Buddhas. So, okay, that's the first hallmark. Every Buddha does this. The next thing that happens is what? Is Rutai, entering the Buddha's mother's womb. And the legend, the story, our founding legend says that the elephant enters Lady Maya's right side, right through the ribs in that area. And every Buddha has the same phenomena. Okay, now this one is a little bit startling, right? Number 3 is while the prince-to-be is in his mother's womb, he's teaching. He teaches the Devas. And 6 times a day, the Devas come down, and they can hear the Dharma being spoken by the not yet born baby, Buddha, coming to be the prince. So, how cool is that? So, yeah. Okay, somebody's got a question here. Okay, you can type that in there. So that's the next hallmark, and every. Okay, here. Okay. The question arose. Somebody raised their hand. Is there a good guide for reading from the Avatamsaka Sutra as a daily practice? There is, as a matter of fact. And it was written by Master Hong Yi大师, who lived in the early years of the 20th century. He is essentially a contemporary of our, slightly older than Master Shen Hua. And he wrote a brief essay saying where to start. Why, the Avatamsaka Sutra is long. It's really big. And it would be unwise, according to Master Hong Yi, Hongyi, Hong Yi. Don't start on page 1 unless you are already a devout Buddhist. Why? The action doesn't really happen until about chapter 9, if I'm not mistaken, when 10 Bodhisattva leaders appear. 10手菩萨, right? 10 Bodhisattva leaders. And they start to ask questions, and the chapters proceed once these Bodhisattvas arise. And before them, chapters 1 through 8 is, there's celestial geography, lists of worlds. There's a long list of who's arrived at the place where the sutra is being explained. There's an attendance list, and there are lots of verses and praises. Everybody who shows up gives a verse in praise of the Buddha. And so it's, now if you're tuned in, it's fabulous. It's designed to help you enter samadhi as you read. But for a beginner, not recommended. What does Master Hong Yi say? Master Hong Yi says, start with chapter 40. Chapter 40. Chapter 40 is Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows, BuddhistTexts.org. I'm going to go to our own website, BuddhistTexts.org, and go to, let's see here, publications, catalog. Here we go. Sutras with commentaries. Here we are. I'm going to point you to Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows. Let's see if we can dig it up here. Sutra in 42 sections. Maybe there's under this. Here's the Flower Adornment Sutra. This is, let's see here. Chapter set includes, oh, you can buy the entire set for $174. There you go. Cash on the barrelhead. That's way too much, right? So I'm probably in deep water here, directing you to something that's not going to help you. Master Empty Cloud, Master Hong Yi said, start with chapter 40, Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows. Maybe, I'll tell you what, I'll ask some of the monks who are listening in, maybe Jin Chuan, Jin Wei, Jin He, Jin Fo, maybe you could dig up where we can find a copy, where someone can go online to get a copy of chapter 40 of the Avatamsaka. We have translated it. It's been retranslated. Master Hong Yi says start there. From chapter 40, it's the last chapter, but he says that's the place to start because you get a summary, get the real flavor of the Avatamsaka Sutra. It's also the hinge pin of cultivation, he says. You won't go wrong with that. Then, he says, after you've read chapter 40, he says, go to a chapter called Jing Heng Pin, purifying practices. Purifying practices. He says, that's the next place to go. And after you go there, he says, then go to Fan Heng Pin, the Brahma practices. Okay, here's our link. Right there. Here we are. Universal Worthies, Conduct and Vows. You see where that is? cttbusa.org/Avatamsaka/Avatamsaka 40 ASP. It's in my chat box. I'm sure it'll be out there on YouTube as well. So that's Master Hong Yi's recommendation for the first place to go. Then he says go to purifying practices. Then go to Brahma conduct, I think we call it, Brahma practices. Then he says go to the 10 practices, then try the 10 stages. And he says, at each, in his essay, he says, at each step, if this is good, if you're happy with that, move forward. If that's kind of over your head, then read it twice, read it 3 times, and absorb it slowly. You'll enjoy it, right? And then he says, now, if you are what's called a lao xiuxing, if you're an old, seasoned cultivator, start with the first text and first book and go right through it, because it won't put you off. You'll be able to use it to help you enter samadhi, and you'll have the context for it. But that many people approaching the Avatamsaka found it to be a steep mountain to climb, just as the questioner has asked. So try that. Start there. You'll find much of, not all, of the Avatamsaka translated in English with Master Hua's commentary on cttbusa.org, Avatamsaka, right? We are currently retranslating the whole text so that people can read it and approach it, grasp it, in kind of, we first translated it back in the 80s. Master Hua explained it in the 70s and 80s. We first translated it, but it was, it could use some combing and polishing. So we're about that. We're doing that. Okay, that's the answer to your question. We're back to the 8 hallmarks of realizing the way. And what do we have? Every Buddha descends from the Tushita heaven, enters his mother's womb, stays in the womb and speaks Dharma, and then is born. Born from his mother's right side in the Lumbini garden. And what happens next? Takes 9 steps. Dragons bathe him with sweet dew. He says, Tian Shang, Tian Xia, Wei Wo Du Zun. He says, I am the honored one between heaven and earth. And sets off to become the Prince of India, sees the 4 messengers outside the city gates and goes into the woods, right? Leaves home. That's number 5. Now, different accounts, 19 or age 25. Sees the impermanence of the world. His father didn't want that to happen. Too late, it happens. He goes out into the woods, cultivates ascetic practices for 6 years, and Cheng Dao is number 6. He realizes the Tao under the Bodhi tree, becomes a Buddha. Okay, so this is the outline, the high points, the tips of the waves, the crests of the waves of a lifetime of successful spiritual accomplishment. It's a spiritual journey to success. Okay, now after he realizes the Tao, he's got 2 more to go. What does he do? He turns the Dharma wheel, we say, for 49 years. And the commentary here says 50 years. Speaks the Dharma, lets fall the sweet dew rain to wash away the dust and flames of delusion, right? That's what he's doing. That's what the Buddha does. Then when he has taught all those with whom he has affinities, those he can teach, he enters nirvana. All right? That's, okay. Between the 2 sala trees, and that's the lifetime of a Buddha. Now, how much time of each of these 8 intervals? Different per Buddha, but the outline is the same. Our Buddha, Shakyamuni, who came to teach us 2,500 years ago, lived 49 years as a Buddha, and relatively brief Buddha's lifespan. They say, interestingly, that Maitreya Bodhisattva, who would now be in the Tushita heaven, waiting for the right time to come down to our world, will be here for 3 days and 3 nights before entering nirvana. That's the story. So get your ticket now, Don't wait. Stock up on face masks and hand sanitizer and get ready to go to the Dragonflower Longhua Fa Hui, the Dragonflower Assembly, for when Maitreya Bodhisattva becomes Maitreya Buddha. Okay, now, what I wanted to share was, just interestingly, Master Zhizhi, Zhizhi Dashi, Tiantai Dashi, wrote an essay called Si Jiao Yi, Rituals Within the Four Teachings, where he says, he gives us a pre-story, the prequel to the 8 hallmarks. He says Bodhisattvas go through 7 stages. First, Fa Puti Xin. Second, Xiu Pusadao. Make the Bodhi resolve, walk the Bodhisattva path, plant the seeds by doing the deeds that create the 32 hallmarks of a great hero, the Mahaparusha, the Da Jiangfu. And that takes a long time to do that. You complete the 6 perfections, which means you're teaching living beings. You pass through the last lifetime. You are reborn from the Tushita heaven, and then come the 8 hallmarks of the Tao. So he says there's steps that happen beforehand to get you there. Okay, good, another list. All right? Now, there is another set of 8 hallmarks that I want to share with people, which is fascinating, the Theravada version. Theravada monks say what? Descend from the Tushita heaven, leave the womb, right? And being born. What Tuotai is entering the womb? Tuotai 应该说是什么？入脱就是入Tuotai 是说 OK 出来，然后呢出生，Tuotai 跟出生是不是一样吗？奇怪。So the list here is slightly different. So you leave the womb, you're born, you leave home, and look at number 5. You subdue the demons. Subduing the demons before you realize the Tao. So, a different list. It's slightly, more or less the same, but it adds that as a hallmark of Buddhahood, of realizing the spiritual journey includes subduing demons before you realize the Tao. And the list of what happens in the womb is slightly different, the birthing process. Okay, that's interesting. This is the hero's journey. Anybody who's studied Joseph Campbell or Eliade, the great writers, contemporary writers on spirituality and anthropology, spiritual anthropology, they talk about the life, the high points, the oases on the long pilgrimage towards awakening, towards individuation. Carl Jung would have been fascinated by the 8 hallmarks of a human realizing perfection, individuation, right? So, there we go, slightly different. I've heard there's, in the Avatamsaka, there's another version that talks about, that adds distributing sharira at the end, fanbu shari, that entering nirvana is not, in fact, the end. That the last step is taking the relics of the Buddha after cremation and distributing them so that his accomplishment continues, right? Continues. Here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm, we are awaiting our stupa to arrive from Taiwan. We've got, in our new rebuilding here, we have a stupa courtyard prepared, and we need some really good sharira to put in the stupa. That's what sharira is. That's what stupas do. So they hold the Buddha's relics. So, there we go. That's those are the 8 hallmarks of accomplishing the way. And what does it say? Take a look here. It says, disciples of the Buddha, they make the deeds of a Buddha appear, starting with descending from the Tushita heaven up to and including nirvana. He can do so in 1 world, 2 worlds, many worlds. And he continues to do it in lands as many as fine motes of dust, in many hundreds of thousands of kotis of nayutas of world systems. There you go. Fascinating, right? And what is doubly fascinating is that the sutra specifies that it's a show. He's 现佛事. He's just, it's like a play all set up to get us to wake up. Okay? Otherwise, why bother? It's a lot of work. Go through lots of pain, lots of suffering in order to teach. Okay, one more. Ready? Here we go. 佛子此地菩萨智慧明达神通自在随其心念能以狭世界做广世界广世界做狭世界垢世界做净世界净世界做垢世界乱住此住导住正住如是无量一切世界皆能互作. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva on this stage has wise understanding and sovereign psychic powers. Should he wish to do so, he can turn confined world systems into expansive world systems. He can turn expansive world systems into confined world systems. He can turn defiled world systems into pure world systems, and can turn pure world systems into defiled world systems. Whether they are chaotic or orderly, upside down or upright, he can turn limitlessly many world systems into each other. Well, there you go. This is a creation story, right? This Bodhisattva has, it says, 智慧明达神通自在. His wisdom is bright and clear and shines through, right? It shows, it illuminates the point. 明达 clarifies, gets to the point. Further, he is absolutely in charge of psychic abilities. All right? That's what we're going to talk about next. Now, to continue the passage, for the next 10 passages, so a couple more weeks, we're going to be doing this, talking about how the Bodhisattva takes one thing and turns it around, takes the other thing and turns it back. And he might do this, and he might do that, all for the purpose of teaching. Okay? He can turn limitlessly many world systems into its opposite as he chooses, because he can. He is powerful in that way. All right? So, what are sovereign psychic powers? Oh my goodness. I'm opening up that second document now. So, we hear about this in the Chinese Buddhist world, not so much in the West, because people don't go for, you might say, the magical side of Buddhism. Magic meaning not evident to the senses, but still following cause and effect. Okay? Now, so when I explain this now in English, if this were a Chinese audience entirely, and we weren't speaking to Westerners, be no problem. We just say 神通妙用, 特异功能, we say. And every, Chinese, Vietnamese audience, their ears prick right up. Oh, tell me more, I'm interested. Right? In the West, it's like, oh, the more we hear, the more we doubt. It's like, nah, it almost cheapens the, it's like a sideshow. We came to meditate. What are you telling me about this ability to hear and see and stuff? So, understood that we are not, we are trained as scientific observers. We want proof, we want evidence. Only then do we believe it, right? My mother was born in Missouri, the show me state, or is that Kansas? I don't know. The show me state. We don't really believe it till we see it. Okay, the Avatamsaka Sutra says something different, but here, this is the interesting, fascinating flip of this. The Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese East Asian view of psychic powers is often distorted. So in many, many things, Master Hua was a reformer of perspectives. When it came to Confucius, he wanted to set the record straight that filiality was not about obey me. Filiality was about repaying parents' kindness, knowing that you've been given to, right? It came from a heart of appreciation and gratitude, not fear and punishment, right? So in many things, we had no idea that Master Hua was actually restructuring, you could say memes, M-E-M-E, memes or paradigms in Buddhism that had become kind of institutionalized or crusty or brittle. Another one, explaining sutras. Buddhist monks and nuns didn't very often explain sutras, and people didn't go to listen to them because they were deadly boring. They were reading commentaries. So he reformed that, right? Education, he was a major educational reformer. He said, you don't learn so that you can become rich and famous. You learn so that you can understand truth, right? So, okay. Psychic powers is one of those things that Master Hua reformed and presented to us with conditions and cautions. And here's, as I've prepared this today, I say, in the sutra, the Bodhisattva in training reaches the third of the 10 stages. Here, as he practices the perfection of patience, he realizes the 6 psychic powers, although it's only 5 in the specified here. Before he gets to that level where the psychic powers open from his nature, what has he done? The sutra specifies that he has sympathy for living beings' pains and miseries. He is moved from his heart. That's the main point. He has compassion for people's pain, which is why he continues his cultivation to the point where psychic powers arise. He is not developing these or learning them so he can be powerful. Okay? Furthermore, in the third stage, we explained it years back, he has come from the practice of purification, becoming immaculate on the second stage, getting rid of any kind of wrongdoing or harm in his behavior at all, right? So he really, really pounds the bubbles out of the bread dough before he puts it in the oven. He takes the bubbles out of the clay before he puts it in the kiln, so it doesn't go pop when the fire gets hot. He has worked on himself, herself. He is searching for truth, and it says, before it gets to the Shantong part, it says, he renounces everything extraneous in order to accomplish finding the truth. That's what he's looking for. And it talks about it. It says, somebody comes up to him and says, okay, I have a 4-line verse of Dharma, which I'll teach to you, but you have to throw your body into a pit of fire from up in the desire realm heavens. You willing to do it? The Bodhisattva goes, yes. Show me the ladder. I'm ready. I want that 4-line verse of Dharma. So nothing he won't let go of to seek principle and truth of his own nature. So with that search, with that intensity and sincerity, what does he do? He enters the dhyanas, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. He passes through what are called the 4 formless attainments, which are, this is the formless realm, the 3rd level of, let's see here, there we go. Move it up. Oh, there we go. There's the desire realm, the form, and the formless realm. He masters these samadhis. Why? He is a major meditator. Clearly. Okay, what happens? 5 eyes, the flesh eye, the deva eye, the wisdom eye, the dharma eye, and the Buddha eye, one by one, are open to him. He can use that 5-fold spiritual vision to see what he needs to see to know how to teach people. And that is the criteria. Okay? Now, something else develops in him. What is it? The Deva eye, notice, same as number 2 of the 5 eyes. What else? The Deva ear, you could say clairvoyance and clairaudience. He can hear the way Devas in heaven hear, way beyond his own human hearing. Furthermore, he becomes a mind reader, telepathy, ta xin tong, knowledge of others' thoughts. Furthermore, he is able to know his own past lives, xu ming tong. Furthermore, he is able to master psychic powers, which are, we're going to get into them in a minute. What are they? What is shenzu tong? And then number 6. And interestingly, the Avatamsaka does not give us number 6 as one of the things that the 3rd stage Bodhisattva accomplishes. Not yet. Not yet. Hai mei dao, right? Shujian hai mei dao. Okay, now, why am I going through this in this way? I want to tell you before I jump in. Chinese culture has been looking at these abilities in Buddhists, somewhat in Taoists, but not quite the same, for hundreds and hundreds of years. And popular culture has absorbed these ideas and distorted them. I remember seeing a movie. It was a martial arts film, wuxia pian, right? Hong Kong martial arts film, which are great fun. You know, I think it was might have been a Shaw Brothers film. And there was an Indian monk in it, and you can always tell whether it's sympathetic to Buddhism or not sympathetic to Buddhism, hostile to Buddhism, if the monk who appears in the film is a villain. In this case, the Indian monk was a villain. He was a bad guy, and he had huge eyebrows. His eyebrows were like this, and he had beads around his neck that were each one, as big as your fist. And what did he do? He went, Amitofo, Amitofo. Talk like that. And there was a moment where the monk decides to come out in favor of the usurper, the bad guys, the bad team, right? And what does he do? He takes his hands and he goes like this, and fire appears, and he takes him and goes like that, and shoots out the fireball out of his hands. And of course, the hero is able to use his kung fu to avoid the fireball, and then winds up killing the bad monk. And the Buddhists watching the movie are going, "Ooh, what are we learning about Buddhist monks?" Is they have the ability to create balls of fire and throw them at people, like that. And of course, there are other, they drink wine and chase girls and things like that. So anyway, this is a corruption of the idea of psychic powers. Where else do you see such things? Contemporary Taiwan, there was a time when buying stocks, the stock market, became a popular thing to do. Remember, it was called day trading. I remember back before the stock market crash in the 80s, it was a big deal. And unscrupulous stockbrokers would come along and say, I have my Tian Yan Kaila, my Deva vision is open. I've got Shantong, and I can tell you which stocks to buy and which ones to avoid. And your portfolio will be very fat and happy. They would advertise that if you bought stock according to their recommendations, you would get rich. And people went for it, right? They said, oh, really? Oh, cool. So the ones that advertised that they had Tian Yan working got customers, got clients, right? Who else? Realtors. Realtors would combine feng shui with tianyan, with a deva eye. Oh, if you buy this lot, if you buy this apartment, if you put your store in this shopping center, you will get rich. This is, if you won't, your child, your son will get rich. Next 7 generations are going to be rolling in the dough because I can see with my eye. And what is this? This is the marketplace, right? This is like, what? It's advertising. It's phony baloney. Because why? The sutra describes real psychic powers arising out of what? Compassion, a wish to end people's pain. And furthermore, in order to get there, to where these psychic abilities come out of your own inner inherent systems, you have to renounce, you have to purify your body, mouth, and mind. You have to enter the dhyanas. You have to meditate long and hard. It's not as easy as saying, I got them. They're mine, right? Okay. Now, here's what I wanted to share especially. The sutra, the 3rd stage, the very same chapter that we're studying, talks about the details of the 6, the shantong, 6种 shantong 妙用, right? What are they? Says, here's how he gets there. He only cultivates, according with the Dharma. He doesn't like things, he doesn't attach to things. The Bodhisattva's mind accords with kindness. Kindness is what gives rise to psychic powers. It is vast, great, limitless, non-dual, no resentment, no antagonism, no obstructions, no affliction. That's the mind that psychic power is growing. This mind reaches all locations, it ends empty space in the Dharma realm, pervades all worlds, and you dwell in compassion, joy, and giving the same way. Okay, so the first one it mentions, you know, 好像我没有中文啊，抱歉。Let's see, do I? Should I, if I can send, that would be good for the Chinese readers, listeners, if I can, let's see here. Buddha Dharma, date modified, Avatamsaka. Chinese text, right there. Let's see here. Desire, heaven, sutra text, 10 grounds, 2020. I don't know if I've got it. Shoot. Let's see here. Date modified. No, 我没有，抱歉. I didn't prepare the Chinese, I'm sorry. Summary of slides, nope. 没有了. Oh, yo. Wait. There it is, but now I have to show you where it is. Oh, Fa Guang Di. This is called the stage of emitting light. Yeah, it's right, starting with the, okay, right there. The non-Chinese speakers are going, what is he doing? Okay, got that. I'm going to have to send you an email, okay? Because we can't, I don't think we can do airdrop, right? All right. 3rd stage Chinese, there we go. This document is called 3rd stage Chinese. And let me do that quickly here. Not that. Close that, quit that. Okay. Open this. There we go. I'll unshare my screen. That's the right way to do it. Yeah. Okay, hold on there. Everybody be patient for just a second. All right. All right. Okay, and coming right up here. Going to clip on. Says third stage Chinese. There we go. Now, when... All right. It's on its way. Now, when that gets there, look for the text that's in red. The text is in red. That's the part we're going to read. Okay, while they're getting that sorted out, let me say that, and I'm going to share my screen again here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Share screen. And there we are. Okay, we're back. Now, our Bodhisattva begins by talking about number 5 in our list, which is called Shenzu Tong, right? And these are the most, I guess you could say, miraculous, because why? He's moving matter. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva obtains limitless powers of spiritual abilities. He can move the earth. He can make one body into many bodies into one body. He can either disappear or appear. He goes through stone walls and obstructing mountains as if they were space. In the midst of space, he travels in full lotus like a bird in flight. He enters the earth as if it were the water. He treads upon the water as if it were earth. His body puts forth smoke and flames like an immense heap of fire. He further sends down the rain just like a mighty cloud. The sun and moon in space have tremendous, awesome might, yet he can touch and rub them with his hands. His body is free and at ease, even up to the world of Brahma. All right, so what, right? This is where science, evidence-based, science-educated disbelievers jump off the ship, right? Step off. No thanks. Because these are all miracles. They're physics-defying. And yet, in when we talk about Jesus, the life of Jesus of Nazareth, here are miracles, not too unfamiliar. He could walk on the water, take the hand of the man who walked upon the water, right? And, okay, so the West is not entirely unfamiliar with this, but it's considered miraculous indeed. What is going on? Our Bodhisattva, in the process of meditating through the 4 dhyanas and the 4 si wu liang chu, the 4 si kong chu, the 4 stages of emptiness in the formless realm, he can change his body. His body's 4 elements are now bonded in a different way, and these are the things that he can do. I might add, for people who are students of the Dharma, there's something called the Luohan Shiba Bian, the 18 changes that arhats can do. Here they are. This is similar. It's shared among the Theravada sages of the arhat. So, what can he do? He can shake the earth, right? He can make one body into many, many into one. He can appear, he can vanish. He's able to move earth, air, fire, and water in these ways. He can pass through stone, and just as if it were empty space, and in the air, he can sit in full lotus and travel like a bird. He can go into the earth like water and walk on the water as if it were solid. Smoke and fire can come from below, or rain can come from below, likewise from above. Okay? He can reach up and touch the sun and the moon. He is free and zizai, even in the Brahma world. All right. Now, that your stockbroker in Taiwan who wants to get you as a client and makes claims probably can't do those things, right? And yet our Bodhisattva, in the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says he is shantong zizai, zizai shantong. Why? There's a difference. The difference is where he started and what he had to do to get there. Where did he start? He started with compassion. No self-benefit. He was not doing this to get good stuff for himself, to get advantage, to get power, to be famous, to get rich, you know. He was doing it to help. These are teaching tools that come out of his nature, not because he wants them, but because they emerged. They came spontaneously because of his vows to help, or her vows to help. Furthermore, they came kind of the way, what would it be, a funny analogy? If you bake bread, maybe we might have some bakers here. If you bake bread, there is a moment in the baking process where the smell pervades the kitchen and the dining room and the upstairs and the outside the window. And everybody walking by goes, "What do I smell? Oh, that smells good. Is it ready? You know, can we have a piece, have a slice? Where's the butter?" And that smell is the result of every previous step, from getting the flour, getting the water, getting the yeast, getting the, you know, the salt and the baking soda, putting it together, watching it rise, punching it down, watching it rise, punching it down, watching it rise, and then shaping it into loaves and putting it in the oven and letting it bake. And then it transforms into bread. And the smell that turns everybody's head is the last step, right? It's almost done by then. But you don't get to the smell, that fragrance, that fresh bread, freshly baked bread fragrance, until you've gone through every other step. Okay? The psychic powers don't emerge as the fragrance of a life, the bodhisattva's abilities, until he or she has taken all the other steps. Okay? So I think that's not a bad analogy, actually, you know, because people want the smell and the flavor of the bread without any clue whatsoever about what's involved in real psychic powers. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we got one more. Take a look. What else? How about the Tianyan? Tianyan. This bodhisattva's, E-A-R. Tian-ar tong. This bodhisattva's deva ear is purified, surpassing human hearing. He can hear all the sounds of humans and gods, whether near or far away. Even the sounds of mosquitoes, gnats, and so forth are completely audible to him. Voices of mosquitoes, gnats, and so forth. Okay, so this is clairaudience, it's called. And the bodhisattva with the same, these ears are all you see, but his ears, his tian-ar tong, deva ear, is able to hear everything. Specifies little sounds. He can hear them all. Okay. We want, that word needs to be thoughts. Okay. This is called Ta Xin Tong, mind reader. Okay? This bodhisattva, using the knowledge of others' thoughts, knows the thoughts of other beings as they actually are. That is to say, if they have thoughts of greed, he knows their thoughts of greed as they actually are. If they have no thoughts of greed, he knows their freedom from the thoughts of greed as they actually are. If they have thoughts of anger, or free from thoughts of anger, if they have thoughts of stupidity or no thoughts of stupidity, or afflicted thoughts, or I'm translating minds every time into thoughts. Unafflicted thoughts, meticulous thoughts, or negligent thoughts, great thoughts, or limitless thoughts, uncomplicated thoughts, or complicated thoughts, scattered thoughts, or unscattered thoughts, concentrated thoughts, or unconcentrated thoughts, liberated thoughts, or unfree thoughts, surpassed thoughts or unsurpassed thoughts, defiled thoughts or undefiled thoughts, expansive thoughts or non-expansive thoughts. All of these he knows as they actually are. The Bodhisattva in this way, with knowledge of others' thoughts, knows the thoughts of living beings. Now, that can be really scary if you're the one whose mind is being read. And I have to say, I'm not here to make the claim that my teacher had psychic powers or didn't have psychic powers. That's not, I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that around Master Hong Hua, many people felt that he was watching our thoughts and that he knew our minds better than we knew our own minds. That was often what people felt. It's like, it was uncanny how your teacher would just kind of be one step ahead and yet never said a word, never, he did not claim. And there was never any sense of threat or danger. The biggest danger was embarrassment, because when somebody knows what you're really thinking, oh my God, that's, So we have, what do we have? We have past lives, we have the Deva I, and notice there's no Lo Jin Tong, the last one, the ending of outflows is not there. But knowledge of others' thoughts is. Now, I'm going to I'm going to stop this flow with I haven't done past lives or Tianyan yet. We're going to get there next week because these are significant in the Asian Buddhist world. And I want the skeptical Westerners like myself to be exposed to this reality from the sutra in the proper way. And there's a lot to learn. I remember I said, Shifu, once, I said, Shifu, people in the West just don't believe in psychic powers. And he said, hai zao. He said, they're still wet behind the ears. And yet, what did he say? He said, in this country, we are not teaching psychic powers, we are teaching virtue. All right, so what have we looked at? We've looked at our Bodhisattva, who is on the stage of the Dharma Cloud. And everything from making the Bodhi resolve all the way up to this near graduation has been motivated by compassion, kindness, a wish to help. And he is shedding this sweet dew, Dharma rain, to wash away and to quench the flames of dust and fire and delusions. Okay? That's where it's at. It's consistent. Every step has been motivated by that. He wants people to not hurt so bad. Okay. We'll continue next time with this topic and then move on through. Now, today, our older Dharma sister, Madalena Tam, was talking about her encounter with Master Hong Hua when she was a young girl of 11. And I heard some stories today. She talked for an hour on Zoom. And I heard some stories that I hadn't ever heard before. They were great stories. She said, for example, she at first, she had a very low opinion of many of the Buddhists that she had met in Hong Kong as a little girl. I'm going to see here. Stop sharing my screen. No, I keep sharing my screen. And she said that her father, already aged 80, had never taken refuge but had wanted to. And then at age 80, met Master Hong Hua in Hong Kong, who was a very young monk. And her dad, Madalena's dad, said, I found him. Here's the monk I've been waiting for. I want to take refuge with him, and you should too. Madalena said, no, I don't want to. No, never met a Buddhist I wanted to take as my teacher. And I hadn't heard that before, because why? I was the same. I was a graduate student at UC Berkeley. My college roommate had already become a bhikshu, Hong Yi Fa Shi, David Bernstein. And I would, if anybody knows where David Bernstein is, please tell him that his old friend Hong Shi wants to talk to him. I've lost touch, and I'd love to chat with him. So he wanted to bring me across to Gold Mountain Monastery. I was across the bay in Berkeley in a students' commune, and he would send me Vajrabodhisi magazine back when it was the small format, and I would look at it, and I'd look at these American monks and nuns and go, phonies, throw it against the wall. I remember throwing a Lotus Sutra and the Shurangama Sutra against the wall, not recommended, you know. But I was really, swallowing the poison of Buddhology and the skepticism, just totally ignorant and arrogant on my part. So at the time, I was making my living, believe it or not, as an astrologer. I would do charts for people, horoscopes, and interpret them for money and pay my rent. And I was doing humanistic astrology, not predicting. I didn't predict events. I'd talk about character and stuff. And so bit by bit, in the next couple years when I was working on my master's degree, I was kind of, Hong Yi was working on me. He brought me over for Buddha's birthday, ate really good vegetarian food, got me to, consider translating for Master Hua, started to do more meditation, but I still wasn't sure I wanted to take refuge. It sounded like, I don't know, it's like lose a lot of freedom that way, freedom to be ignorant. And so I knew that real teachers, good teachers, would use, as the sutra says, what does the sutra says? According with what living beings like. Did you see that part? What did it say this morning? Right here? It said, according with what delights the minds of sentient beings, he pours down the rain of sweet dew. Okay, that caught my eye. So the Bodhisattva reads your mind, knows what you like, and then teaches according to what you can understand. Okay, so that's a principle. It's called expedient skill. 方便智慧, right? Expedient wisdom. Okay, so 1973, summer, and all the astrological world was buzzing. Everybody was like, why? 5 planets were going to make a conjunction. What is a conjunction? They meet in one point of this 1 degree of the sky, right? 5 planets were going to show up on one point in the sky. And where was that point? It was my rising sign. I have 3 degrees Sagittarius rising in my own personal horoscope. Not that I do astrology. I don't. Any requests, I don't do astrology. But I did back then. Okay. And my rising sign, what is the rising sign? The rising sign is that place when you took your first breath in your new body outside mother's womb, or if you're the prince, you come out of your mother's right flank, right? So where was the eastern horizon when you took your first breath? So find the east. For us, it's that way. And the planet turns, right? Think of the bowl of the heavens, and our planet is revolving on its axis. Well, in 24 hours, we go around once. Start again, right? So 3 degrees Sagittarius, if you looked out to the eastern horizon, you would see 3 degrees Sag, and then 4 minutes later, it's 4 degrees Sag, and then 4 minutes later, it's 5 degrees Sag, like that. Okay, those 5 planets were going to be conjunct my rising sign. And if you're an astrologer, you would say, oh, what is the rising sign? Your rising sign is your identity, the impact your persona, your appearance, your first look makes on the world. Because that's kind of the first house. It's where you find your physical body, but also more it's just where you appear, where you show up. Identity. Can be superficial, but nobody doesn't have one. Everyone's got one, right? So I was like, wow, that's interesting. Look at that, 5 planets, a conjunction. And these planets emphasize, when they meet together, it's like this major spotlight on whatever degree of this, wherever that degree shows up in your chart. Well, it was my identity, who I define myself as. Okay, it's going to be at 3 degrees Sagittarius. Cool, that's neat. Okay, so so I'd been, kind of resisting, didn't want to take refuge, and the phone rang in my apartment in Berkeley. Hello. Yes. Is this Christopher? Yes. This is Bhikshu Hongguan from Gold Mountain Monerstery, and our teacher, Master Hong Yi, just asked me to call you to let you know that there will be a refuge ceremony tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the monastery, just in case, just to let you know in case that's something you wanted to do. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. Click. I did the chart. When did the 5 planets hit the 3rd degree of Sagittarius? 3 p.m. tomorrow. So I said, maybe I better go take refuge. That out of the blue, Master Hong Yi nobody told him that there was a conjunction on Heng Shi's chart, except somehow he knew. So I completely put my palms together, went over to Gold Mountain, officially became a Buddhist, took refuge and got the name Guozhen, fruition of the truth. And I said, wow, that's great, what a great name, telling the truth. Huh? He says, no, because you lie too much. You have to tell the truth, finally. He said, if you think you can cultivate the way without being true within true, he said, you're fooling yourself. You need to really straighten up and tell the truth if you want to cultivate the way. And I'm like, well, no. I knew why I didn't want to take refuge. I was going to have to hear stuff like that. Oh, boy. So to be dragged kicking and screaming into the monastery using what I liked, which was looking at the movement of planets against degrees of the zodiac and making, prediction or, conclusions about behavior. So here's a teacher using what disciples like in order to help them wake up. Thank you, Shifu, for knowing my horoscope better than I did. And then there's more about that, about how he, what he did with astrology to get me weaned away from my ephemeris, my planetary tables. But that's a story for another time. So, my goodness, teachers who know your minds better than you do. All right, we are ready to hear some news from the monks listening in about events at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. Anybody want to share what's going on?
Okay, Dharma Master, I can speak. It's Jinwei. So, in the end of this month, we will have an online 7 days Amitabha session here, started in August 29th until September 4th. So 7 days Amitabha session, and the first day, on Saturday in the morning, will be transmission of 8 precepts for those who want to take them, and they can uphold even for 7 days if they wish, or for 1 day and for 1 night. So this is the 7 days session. Next day after the session, September 5th, on Saturday at 6:30 a.m., we will have Ulambana ceremony. And the next day after that, September 6th, it will be a day with Erstor Bodhisattva. We will recite Erstor Sutra. And of course, we have daily activities, ceremonies, lectures, and so on. You can find all this on our website, berkeleymonastery.org. If you're interested, join.
Alrighty, I've got the website up online right now so people can see. Thank you for that. That will be quite something. We've had a good response from our initial online, cultivation events. And if people have never tried it, let me recommend that you check it out. Suppose you're in touch with your grandparents, bring them online and give them a tablet, an iPad or something, and tune in the cultivation at the Berkeley Monastery and let them sit with the online ceremony. It's very satisfying in an amazing way that I don't think people expected how fulfilling the virtual ceremonies would be. It seems like the computer would take something away and the camera in the Buddha hall, but it doesn't seem to. It's a very happy outcome of technology and cultivation. So that's happening on the 29th, and there's ceremonies going on all day long at the Berkeley Monastery, so check it out online. Some of them happen on Zoom, some of them happen on YouTube, and you have to register for the Zoom ones. Okay, next week we'll finish the psychic powers and also move on through the Bodhisattvas cloud of Dharma, Dharma Cloud. Thanks for joining. And America has not turned the corner at all on our response to the coronavirus, and people are discovering how oppressive illness is. So we want to transfer merit and see if we can't send that virus back to nowhere where it came from, right? Let's transfer merit. We'll use the dedication of merit this time. Here we go. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, to joy. May kindness find reward. All who sorrow ease their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of hate turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Gratitude to the volunteers who here in Australia and there in California have put us online, and there are 175 friends on YouTube today. How many in 66 in China. Okay, terrific. Should we do half bows and send off the assembly? Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master.